The captain stood there, looked straight at the cameras and didn't hold back. The whole team was sleeping in the second half. Bruno Guimarães just dropped an absolute bombshell about what really happened in that Marseille dressing room, and what he said next about Nick Pope. Well, you need to hear this. I'm Rodrigo, and you're on Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a supporter and for supporters who are absolutely mad about Newcastle United. You blinked, and Newcastle became headline news everywhere. There's so much to unpack from the south of France, and I'm going to take you through every single layer of what actually went down in that dressing room after our Champions League nightmare. But first, just a quick word. If you love Newcastle and want to follow everything that happens with our club, subscribe to the channel right now. It costs nothing, helps massively, and makes all the difference to the growth of our black and white community. Right, let's get straight into it. Bruno Guimarães, our captain, our leader, the heartbeat of this Newcastle side, he's just given us the most brutally honest assessment you'll hear from any footballer this season. And it all centers around one moment, one mistake and one question. How do you protect your teammate when the whole world is watching? Nick Pope's error in Marseille. We all saw it. That moment when Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang capitalised on a poor clearance, and suddenly we'd gone from cruising at 1-0 to drawing level at the worst possible time. The cameras zoomed in, social media exploded, and everyone had an opinion. But Bruno was the first one there. The first voice in that dressing room, the first person to stand up and say, no, we're not doing this. We're not blaming one player. That, my friends, is what leadership looks like. Let me read you exactly what Bruno told the media after the match, because his words are absolutely crucial here. We know that Popey has already saved us many, many times. This happened to me, it happened to him, it already happened to Dan Burn, so we have to keep going. We cannot blame it on one player. Did you catch that? He immediately put himself in the same category. He reminded everyone that mistakes happen to all of them. Dan Burn's been there, Bruno himself has been there. This isn't about one moment, one player, one error. But then he went further, and this is where it gets really interesting. I think the whole team was sleeping in the second half. And it's not about one player, it's about the whole team. We cannot concede the goals the way we did today. Sleeping, that's the word he used. The entire team, not just Popey, not just the defence, everyone. Think about what that means. Our captain, in front of cameras, journalists from all over Europe, took the responsibility and spread it across the entire squad. That's not deflecting. That's not making excuses, that's owning it as a collective. Now, let's zoom out and understand the full context of this match, because Bruno's comments make even more sense when you see the whole picture. Newcastle started brilliantly, genuinely, we were the better side in that first half. We took the lead, we were strong on the ball, we controlled the tempo. Bruno himself said, we started the game so well, we were strong on the ball. We had chances to make it 2-0. If we'd taken one of those opportunities, this would be a completely different story. But we didn't. And then came the second half. Bruno was absolutely scathing about those opening 10 minutes after the break. We were not on the pitch for 5 or 10 minutes. They scored 2 goals, shocking, sloppy with the ball. Not on the pitch. Let that sink in. Our captain is saying that mentally, tactically, physically, we just weren't there. And Marseille, at home in that cauldron of an atmosphere at the Velodrome, they pounced. 2 goals in quick succession. Pope's error for the first, and then before we could even reset ourselves, they'd scored again. Game over. 2-1. Champions League dream hanging by a thread. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Bruno revealed what was said at half-time in that Newcastle dressing room when we were 1-0 up and in control. We spoke in the changing room to start the second half like we did in the first half, but this did not happen. So the message was clear. The plan was set. Keep doing what we're doing. Don't drop off. Don't invite pressure. Stay aggressive. Stay compact. Stay switched on. And yet, as Bruno admitted, none of that happened. The question is, why? Bruno himself couldn't explain it. Sloppy. I don't know what happened. It cost us the game.
That's the brutal honesty of a leader who knows his team let themselves down. Not Nick Pope, not one individual, the team. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth that we as Newcastle fans need to address. This is becoming a pattern. This is the third time in recent away matches that we've surrendered a 1-0 lead. 3 times. Once is unfortunate, twice is concerning, 3 times? That's a serious issue that needs sorting immediately. Bruno was asked directly about this pattern, and even he struggled to explain it. No, I think we cannot explain. We spoke in the changing room to start the second half like we did in the first half, but this did not happen. And it cost us the game. There's something going on with the mentality when we're winning away from home. Are we sitting too deep? Are we inviting pressure? Are we losing concentration? Is it a tactical adjustment from Eddie Howe that isn't working? Or is it simply individual errors compounding each other? Whatever it is, it's costing us crucial points and crucial Champions League qualification hopes. But let's come back to Pope, because this is where Bruno's captaincy truly shines through. In modern football, when a goalkeeper makes a high-profile mistake, social media can be absolutely brutal. We've seen it destroy players' confidence. We've seen keepers dropped, criticised, mocked, relentlessly. Bruno shut that down immediately. He made it crystal clear.
We know that Popey has already saved us many, many times, and he's absolutely right. How many points has Nick Pope won us over the last 2 seasons? How many world-class saves has he made? How many times has he been the difference between 3 points and none? Countless. Literally countless. One mistake doesn't erase all of that. And Bruno knows that. More importantly, Bruno knows that Pope knows that. The entire squad has his back. That's the kind of dressing room culture that Eddie Howe has built. That's the kind of environment where players can make mistakes, learn from them, and come back stronger without fear of being hung out to dry. Compare that to some other clubs where a goalkeeper error becomes a media circus, where managers throw players under the bus in press conferences, where teammates distance themselves. That's not Newcastle. That's not how we operate. Let's break down the tactical side of what happened, because Bruno gave us some clues. He said the team was too slow in that second half period. When you're 1-0 up away from home in the Champions League, tempo is everything. You need to control the game, move the ball quickly, pin the opposition back. Instead, it sounds like Newcastle became passive. Too many sideways passes, not enough forward momentum. Marseille sensed hesitation, they pushed higher, and suddenly we were defending our own box instead of being on the front foot. Bruno also mentioned being sloppy with the ball, misplaced passes, poor first touches, turnovers in dangerous areas. That's absolutely lethal against quality opposition, and Marseille have enough talent to punish those mistakes. The frustrating thing is that Newcastle showed in the first half that they could dominate, they could control possession, create chances and dictate the game. But that all disappeared in those crucial 10 minutes after the restart. Now let's put this in perspective with what's happening across European football right now. Other English clubs in Europe have had similar struggles this season. Manchester United's away form has been shocking. Chelsea have been inconsistent. Even Liverpool have had moments of vulnerability. But here's the difference. Newcastle are still learning how to compete at this level. This is only our 2nd season back in the Champions League after a lengthy absence. There's gonna be growing pains. There's gonna be harsh lessons. The key is how we respond. Bruno touched on this. We have to learn. We know the amount of games we have. So yes, sad day. Sad day. I'm very disappointed, but we have to keep going. That's the mentality. Learn, adapt, improve. Don't dwell on it. Don't let it snowball into a crisis. Use it as fuel. So where does this leave Newcastle's Champions League hopes? Bruno was quick to point out, we were in a great position after the first half. We are still in a great position. He's right. Despite this defeat, qualification for the last 16 is still very much in Newcastle's hands. The margin for error is smaller now, absolutely, but it's not gone. What matters now is how they respond against Everton, domestic football, St James's Park. A chance to reset, refocus, and show that this was just a blip rather than the start of a downward spiral. Eddie Howe will be working overtime this week to address those mental lapses, the patterns of surrendering leads, the concentration issues, the slow starts to second halves. And you can guarantee that Nick Pope will be straight back in goal with the full backing of his captain, his manager, and his teammates. Here's what really struck me about Bruno's comments and why I wanted to make this video. In football, it's so easy to point fingers. It's so easy to single out one player, one moment, one mistake. Social media thrives on it. Pundits love it. Fans sometimes fall into that trap too. But great teams don't work that way. Great teams protect each other. They share the burden. They lift each other up when someone's down. Bruno Guimarães showed us exactly that. He could have stayed quiet. He could have given generic answers. Instead, he stood up and said, "This is on all of us. We win together, we lose together." That's why he's our captain. That's why Newcastle fans adore him. That's why he's one of the most respected players in the Premier League. And for Nick Pope, knowing that his captain has got his back like that, that's priceless. That's what allows players to move on from mistakes without it eating away at their confidence. Look, the Marseille defeat hurts. Of course it does. Surrendering another lead away from home hurts. Seeing our Champions League hopes get a bit tighter hurts. But what Bruno Guimarães showed us in that post-match interview is that Newcastle United have something special in that dressing room. They have unity. They have leadership. They have players who genuinely care about each other. One bad 10 minutes doesn't define this team. One mistake doesn't define Nick Pope. And one defeat doesn't end our Champions League journey. We dust ourselves off, we learn the lessons, and we go again against Everton with the full backing of St James's Park behind us. Because that's what this club is all about. Resilience, pride, standing together when times get tough. How way the lads! If you've enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay up to date with everything Newcastle United, make sure you're subscribed to Newcastle Mania. Hit that notification bell so you never miss when we upload. And let me know in the comments, do you agree with Bruno's assessment? Was he right to defend Pope so strongly? I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and remember, through the ups and downs, through the wins and losses, we're all in this together. Black and white forever. See you in the next one.